All right, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. What we're about to break down here isn't a price prediction. We're not telling you if a token is going to go up or down. Nope. This is an analysis of financial infrastructure. You know, the plumbing. We're going to look at how some of the biggest players on the planet seem to be building the rails for a whole new system, based on a series of documented events and some major tech shifts.
Okay, let's just start right here, because this statement is a bombshell. This isn't some random dude on the internet. This is Matthew Stein, the director of digital assets at BlackRock. We're talking the world's largest asset manager, saying this out loud at the Ripple Swell conference. He's not talking theory. He's describing a process he says is already happening. Trillions.
Now check out the speed of this. It's just insane. In a little over 2 weeks, a whirlwind of activity. Count them, 5 major spot XRP ETFs go live in the US. And right in the middle of all that, the entire global banking system gets a fundamental upgrade. So you have to ask yourself, are these just a bunch of happy coincidences, or are we watching a very carefully coordinated plan unfold?
To really get what's happening, we've got to look under the hood at the very foundation of all this. We need to talk about the new global standard for how banks talk to each other. It's called ISO 20022, and believe me, it's the piece that connects everything.
So here's the most important thing to understand, and it's where a lot of people get tripped up. ISO 20022 is not some kind of crypto certification. It's not a stamp of approval that makes a token compliant. That's a huge myth. Think of it like this. It's a new universal language for banks, a super data-rich format for sending money, and it's replacing a system that was frankly ancient. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. The old system was like sending a little text message. Simple, but not a lot of info. The new ISO 20022 standard, well, that's like a full-blown cargo manifest attached to the money. It tells you everything: who, what, why, which invoice, which project. This isn't just a small change, it's a complete revolution for banks. It slashes errors, cuts costs, and gets rid of tons of manual work. Which brings us to another super important distinction. The token, XRP itself, isn't ISO compliant. It's the network that it runs on, RippleNet, that is. RippleNet can speak that new data-rich language. You know, the best way to think about it is this. ISO 2200 is the detailed shipping label, and XRP is the truck that actually moves the value from A to B. Okay, so if ISO 2022 is the new language of traditional finance, how in the world do you connect a blockchain to it? How do you build that bridge between these two completely different worlds? Well, that's where the tech is really interesting. Let's see how they actually built it. The answer is something called the Interledger Protocol, or ILP. Basically, its job is to let different systems, like a bank's private ledger and a public blockchain, talk to each other seamlessly. And get this, right after that big SWIFT migration we talked about, technical documents came out showing ILP was formally approved for integration. And the real kicker? Those same documents show XRP is the specified asset used to bridge value across these networks.
So, the tech plumbing is in place. The next big question is access. How do you get all that institutional money, we're talking trillions of dollars, from the old world into this new ecosystem? Well, you build a bridge they already know how to cross, a familiar regulated on-ramp. And that's exactly what an ETF is.
And the demand was there from minute one. I mean, look at this number. $250 million flowed into the very first US spot XRP ETF on its first day. That is not a slow trickle, my friends. That is a massive signal of pent-up demand from some very serious investors. And it wasn't just one company testing the waters. Look at this lineup. We're talking about the heavyweights of asset management. Bitwise, Franklin Templeton, Grayscale, 21 Shares, they all jumped into the game within weeks of each other. A race was on to capture all this new institutional money. To put this into perspective, JP Morgan themselves put out an analysis projecting that XRP ETFs could pull in up to $8 billion in their first year. Now sure, that's less than the monster launches for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but it's still an absolutely huge amount of capital. It puts XRP squarely in that top-tier institutional-grade digital assets. So why are ETFs such a game changer? Because for these big institutions like a pension fund or university endowment, they can't just go open an account on a crypto exchange. It doesn't work that way. ETFs solve their 3 biggest headaches all at once: custody, compliance, and just plain easy access. And thanks to some key legislation, these products became the perfect regulated vehicle they were waiting for.
Okay, now let's zoom out. Because if you think this is all just about a payments token, you're missing the forest for the trees. The ETFs and the payment protocol, they're just pieces of a much, much bigger puzzle.
Ripple is assembling an entire end-to-end financial services company.
And right here, you can see the whole playbook. At the bottom, you've got the super fast settlement on the XRP Ledger. On top of that, a regulated stablecoin for stable value. Then you have the ILP, plugging it into the global banking system. The ETFs provide the on-ramp for big money. And finally, they're buying up companies to build out traditional banking services. It's a full stack, from top to bottom.
And you better believe the smart money is paying attention. $40 billion. That was the valuation Ripple hit in a 2025 funding round. But the most important part is who was writing the checks. Citadel Securities, Fortress, a who's who of Wall Street titans. This is serious institutional validation of the entire strategy.
So let's bring it all together. Let's get back to our main question. When you really step back and look at all the evidence, what do you see? Is this just more speculative crypto hype, or are you witnessing the deliberate construction of something much, much bigger? Now, what you see on this slide, this isn't rumor, it's not wishful thinking from social media. These are the hard documented facts. You've got public statements from the world's biggest asset manager, official tech approvals from the core of the banking system, SEC-approved products from major firms, and financial analysis from top banks. The conversation has completely changed from when will Ripple get adoption to institutions are actively building with Ripple's tech.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. We've looked at the blueprints, we've seen the materials, we've identified the builders, we've seen trillions of dollars in capital getting ready to move. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: are you witnessing the quiet, methodical construction of the financial rails of the future, or is this just the most elaborate crypto narrative we've ever seen? The evidence is on the table.